Our second installment of the Epstein files. Remember, it's been a few days since the US Justice Department dumped 3 million pages of documents and videos and photographs onto the world, and it's just chaos because most of it is redacted. It's taking organizations some time to comb through all of it and make sense of all of it. So this is our second video of the notorious Epstein files as new names and new context is coming out. But remember, inclusion in these files, on being named in this file, does not imply wrongdoing. It's not evidence of wrongdoing or knowledge of Epstein's wrongdoing. It is just evidence of a connection or the fact that a relationship was maintained. Before we go further, though, a reminder to like, share, and subscribe. But also, I want to say thank you to our audience who signed up as members. Thank you very much. I've been reading through the comments and reading through the member comments, especially on the last video that we put out about the online gaming. And I found it very interesting that some of you felt that companies or artists cannot be penalized because obviously the gaming industry does involve a lot of animation, a lot of artists who are involved. And that's a really interesting debate, and that's a debate I would like to continue. So I'm going to respond to those comments tonight. I've been in various shoots over the last couple of days, but we'll talk about that some more, maybe do a follow-up video as well where we can quote some of those comments. Okay, let's get to today's video. This is second installment of Epstein files. So the New York Times has gone through the entire context of the Epstein files, and they have identified 5,300 files that contain more than 38,000 references to Donald Trump. So basically, Donald Trump has been mentioned 38,000 times in the latest installment of the Epstein files. And according to one organization, he has been named more in the Epstein files than the name Harry has been named in all the Harry Potter books put together. Just to give you an idea. Now, the Trump administration insists that federal investigators have found no credible evidence to justify pursuing any allegations of sexual misconduct involving the president. How convenient. Now, using a proprietary tool, New York Times has done this entire reference. Apparently, there are also references to Melania Trump. There are references to Mar-a-Lago, which is Trump's Florida property, and other related words. The paper had earlier said last year that there were 130 files with Trump-related references. The Times noted that Trump is mentioned in the new material in news articles, other publicly available documents that seem to have arrived at Epstein's inbox, but none of these files included any direct communication between Trump and Epstein, and a few records dated back to the early 2000s when the two men were actually socially close. Now, Deputy Attorney General in the US has said on Sunday the Justice Department had examined the allegations connected to Epstein, but did not find any evidence warranting further investigation. Now, that's a really important point. We're going to come back to that later, but I want you to keep that in mind. So for the time being, at least, Donald Trump has gotten away from the storm without any lasting damage. It's not true for a couple of other people, though. Let's talk about Bill Gates. Now, we know that in this latest installment, there was a mention of Bill Gates actually contracting a sexually transmitted disease from Russian girls and then trying to slip drugs or medication to his wife without her knowledge to treat it. Now, Bill Gates has spoken up for the first time and says that he regrets ever knowing Jeffrey Epstein. And this is after his ex-wife, Melinda Gates, alluded to muck in their marriage and insisted that Gates had questions to answer about his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. Of course, his office immediately issued a statement saying that it's absolutely absurd and completely false, and the 70-year-old Gates was silent. But he has spoken now to Australian television channel 9 News, and he's denied the claim as false, but he said apparently Jeffrey wrote this email to himself. The email was never sent. It's completely false. But he has gone on to say that he regrets that friendship. Now, he said, for me, it's Melinda Gates had spoken to NPR on Tuesday, the day before that, and she said, for me, it's personally hard when these details come up. It brings back memories of some very painful times in my marriage, and whatever questions remain, my ex-husband will have to answer them. So Bill Gates has come out and said that he regrets ever knowing Jeffrey Epstein. Now, regrets ever knowing Jeffrey Epstein is not even an apology to the people who were hurt by Jeffrey Epstein, or not any sort of acknowledgement of wrongdoing. And that's another important point I want you to remember. The other person who has been mentioned is Richard Branson, a billionaire of Virgin Atlantic. Now, apparently in 2013, Richard Branson sent an email to Epstein after a meeting between the two saying, and I quote, "It was really nice to meet you yesterday. The boys in water sports can't stop speaking about it. Anytime you're in the area, I would love to see you as long as you bring your harem." Now, the Virgin Group, which is the business empire that was founded by Branson, has said Branson was using Epstein's term for a group of adult women who worked for him. As an adult woman myself, I will clearly tell you that that is not the right term for people who work for you. And that if he knew, apparently Branson says, if he knew the full picture at the time, he wouldn't have used the word or been in contact with Epstein. Oh, how nice of you to issue that weird apology. But through Branson's email exchange, it has made headlines recently, and apparently in the Epstein files, it's not the only mention of the word harem. There are a lot of mentions, and Epstein used it regularly. He was obsessed apparently with the idea of building a harem, or whatever he thought a harem might be. The next name is Deepak Chopra, obviously the person who supposedly was teaching the world about spirituality and India for the last 40 years. Papers detail his long relationship with Epstein. Apparently, they met 12 times between 2016 and 19 for meditation and funding meetings. Chopra apparently attended intimate parties in Epstein's New York residence in the presence of Woody Allen, another stellar human being. And he called these nights a blast. In November 2016, Epstein sent Chopra a report saying that a troubled woman with a history of drug abuse has made up allegations that Trump and Epstein assaulted her when she was 13 years old. Epstein says she's now dropped the civil charges, and Chopra said, good. Deepak Chopra has apparently now apologized for his email exchanges, saying that they were in poor judgment in tone. So he is apologizing for the poor judgment of the tone he chose to write in. He said he regrets the exchanges and he understands how they are read today. I mean, look at this. Look at the quality of this apology, right? He's not apologizing for what he said. He's not apologizing for what he did. He regrets how you might think they sound if you read them today. Chopra has also clarified that he was neither involved in nor participated in any criminal exploitative conduct in the years of his friendship with Jeffrey Epstein. There was another email in which Chopra has told Epstein, and I'm quoting here, "My biological needs are met occasionally, but that too seems been there, done that. I do enjoy the company of younger, intellectually sharp, self-aware women. I love to engage with them and inspire them and stimulate them. This is every uncle we have ever met." And this exchange was from August 2016, years after Epstein had already been registered as a sex offender. There is another exchange between the two of you in which Chopra sent to Epstein a news article about a woman who is backing out of a lawsuit against Donald Trump in an event that Epstein had organized, and Chopra says, good. So basically, Chopra's apology for all of this is, any contact I had was limited and unrelated to abusive activity. I regret the emails, the tone, and I understand how they can be read today given what is publicly known at the time. Okay, what are the connections to India? This has now come up. Reliance Group Chairman Anil Ambani and apparently met with Jeffrey Epstein and communicated regularly between 2017 and 19, according to the files. Apparently, there was a mention of the leadership in Delhi wanted Ambani to meet Epstein and ask for his help to meet Jared Kushner and Steve Bannon. Ambani claimed that in a message that, to Epstein, he basically said, the leadership in Delhi wants you to help me meet Kushner and Steve Bannon. The meetings were requested ahead of the Prime Minister Modi's visit to the US in June 2017. Now, according to the files, Ambani is said to have met with Epstein on May 23rd, 2019, the day that Prime Minister Modi got re-elected with a very decisive mandate, following which Epstein messaged Bannon and said, "This is Modi's guy." Epstein also said that he had met and complained that no one in Washington wants to speak to him. That evening, Epstein sent Ambani a message saying, "Today was a treat. Nice to meet you." Exchanges took place weeks before Epstein was arrested on federal charges of trafficking underage girls. The other person who pops up in the list is Minister Hardeep Singh Puri. According to reports, apparently there were 3 confirmed meetings between Puri and Epstein in New York. At that time, I must point out clearly, Puri did not hold any public office. He was a retired diplomat who was at that point working for the International Peace Institute, which is a think tank. The material made public includes scheduling emails, meeting confirmations, and discussions about business opportunities, investment opportunities in India's internet economy. Apparently, the wire that's written about this contacted Puri for a statement. He said that in 8 years in New York, there were 3 meetings. All of them took place while he was at the International Peace Institute, and he was not aware of any criminal background. There is one letter that comes, or one apparently contact that comes after he joined government, where Epstein has written to Puri to introduce Reid Hoffman, the co-founder of LinkedIn. And the message says, Puri says, "Just saw your message on returning to Delhi. Jeffrey, happy to associate or facilitate Reid Hoffman's visit to India." Jeffrey Epstein responds saying, "Reid, Hardeep, Reid, Hardeep is your man in India." The last documented exchange between the two men, June 2017, Puri wrote saying, "Jeff, if you're back in town, I'd like to drop by for a chat." And Epstein said, "Phone tomorrow?" ? Again, there's no evidence here other than the fact that the two men knew each other, and it does seem like these conversations were largely to do with business and investment ideas in India. Another Indian who's been named is Anurag Kashyap, who has been named not directly, so he was not participating in anything, but he's been referenced to as the Bollywood guy in a specific email. The mention has drawn attention online. The correspondents reportedly discussed the possibility of workshops on Buddhism, technology, medicine at an event in Shanghai, and Kashyap's name was being proposed for that event, and that's that reference. Now, here's the thing, right? The US Justice Department has removed thousands of documents that were related to Epstein from its website after the victims said that their identities had been compromised. Lawyers from Epstein's victims had, said flawed redactions. Basically, they were covering up the names of the offenders, and they've actually put photographs and details out that compromise the identity of the victims. I mean, there's actually one email in which it said something about a 9-year-old. It says 9-year-old. And the person who sent that email, the name has been redacted. So survivors are calling this outrageous, that they should at this point be named, scrutinized, or re-traumatized in this manner. The other development in this story is that Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton have agreed to testify in a House investigation in the Jeffrey Epstein investigation this month. They will testify on the 26th and the 27th of February. The arrangement comes after months of negotiation between the Republicans and the Democrats to make the Clintons actually the focal point of this entire investigation. In the meantime, President Donald Trump has called for Americans to move on, nothing to see here. He said, and I quote, "I think it's really time for our country to maybe get on to something else. Now that nothing has come out about me other than a conspiracy against me, literally by Epstein and other people," end quote. I do want to say this, and this is my point of view here, that this is actually not a release of information. I see this as a massive cover-up. They've not actually given us anything. Most of the details of the names of the individuals have been redacted. They've given us fragments of conversation with almost zero context. They've given us enough to feel disturbed, enough to sort of give everybody something to talk about, something to report about, but nothing that actually gives you any evidence to any crime that was done. There's no evidence here that proves anything. So it's actually a cover-up that lets you see just enough, but actually doesn't tell you anything. There's no accountability. There's no evidence. It's weaponized chaos. 3 million documents just been dumped and everybody's scrambling through it, and every time you find something, everybody chases after saying, "Oh my God, we found this one name," but There's no actual evidence to suggest anything. And oh, we saw this one, there's something looks a little salacious, and here is a photograph that looks, kind of disgusting. A perfect storm of scraps of information, no justice at all. And look at what we're getting in return from these very powerful men. We're getting carefully worded apologies, telling us that I'm sorry if you feel bad reading it now. I mean, if I knew what things were going to turn out now, I probably wouldn't have written it like that then. I should have never met the guy. I feel sorry I ever met the guy. None of this is accountability. None of this is justice for those thousands of women. And just look at it, right? Thousands of women, these young girls who were abused when they were 12, 13, 14, are now grown women who have been giving testimony, they've been giving evidence, they have been, alive and well, actually telling you what is happening, and nobody has believed them. And we need emails from a convicted sex offender to make us feel like there's any truth in it. And we want to believe that the Trump administration at this point is going to do any of this honestly. And of course, Trump himself telling us to move on, find something else to do. There's nothing to see here anymore. I mean, honestly, for me as a woman, yes, it's disgusting and it's gross and salacious, but I think that the thing that I'm starting to realize from all of this is that the most powerful men in the world were trading, buying and selling children for sex. I mean, it made me stop and think, why is it that powerful men find adolescent girls attractive? As a woman, I can't even understand it. Like, how much do you hate the women your own age? How much do you want to be with members of the opposite sex that you can dominate in such a horrible manner? So you are the apex predators of the world. Rich, powerful, scientists, doctors, health gurus, investors, heads of government, and you want the youngest, weakest, most disenfranchised sexual partner you can find? Something seriously, seriously wrong with this picture. There is no other animal in the animal kingdom that is this messed up. How did we get this messed up? And I have this sinking feeling that this is going to come and go, the storm is going to pass. They'll probably invade another third world country or another, start another war to distract the media from this. These men are going to get away completely scot-free. Do you realize? Pointing out to us that we really do live in a world where women and children don't matter. Where for these men, human beings are resources for their businesses. And worse still, women and children are not even that. Which means that everything we thought we knew about women's empowerment and feminism that should have changed in the last 100 years of the human race is actually not true. Nothing is true. And all we are left with are redacted pieces of paper in which people are saying mildly disgusting things, for which they have apologized for their tones. Any accountability, justice, prosecution, evidence? Nothing. Zero. Doesn't matter. That is who we've become.